because I thought I was supposed to figure it all out on my own. And it was a disaster. It was almost a year of doing that. And I learned my lesson. It was like, oh, I didn't have to do it that way. Duh. And update and submit and submit and submit and submit, and network. That's like the roadmap that most people use. And I think that you're missing out on a huge opportunity when you are in between jobs. It can be more than just the job search. But I think this is the number one biggest mistake that people make when they're in between. They don't give themselves the resources. I want you to know it's going to be okay. You're going to land on your feet. Sometimes you need to do less. Hello, and welcome to the Unlock Lab. I'm your host, Tosca DiMatteo, and I'm so glad you're here. If it's the first time you're here, welcome. This is episode 111. I'm so excited. What a great number. And today I want to talk to you about being in between things. More specifically, being in between jobs, because that can be a really difficult place for people. It's a place where I think we don't get a lot of direction. We don't get a lot of education about the emotional journey that should be expected in that. And, just as an example of how we don't get supported in that, for folks who, for example, get laid off and they have, placement, companies support them in finding their next job. Those placement companies don't deal with the emotional roller coaster that happens when you've either gotten let go, or when you choose to leave yourself. And it's like a huge missing piece. And I'm not going to get on a whole soapbox about that, but just suffice it to know that there's a huge opportunity with the systems in place to support people when they're in between jobs. I think I've done a similar episode, I think pre-YouTube days, like me looking at your face, you looking at my face, I should say, and giving you some counsel on this. And I wanted to do it again because there's just so much disruption. There's so much change. So many people are in between things by force or by choice. So let's equip ourselves with how to make the most of this time in between, rather than use it as a time to beat yourself up, or use it as a time to be forcing the next thing and going into go fear mode, fight mode. No, that is what not to do. But I know that it's kind of a natural thing that people do. They go towards the doing, because that's what we've been conditioned to do. Oh, wait, you have this goal now. You need to get another job. You better go do, and, jump straight into it. And that is not what I recommend. In fact, I wrote a whole article on, a talent development, Association for Talent Development, about what to do to up-level your brand narrative. And it's a great article. I have it on my website under media and publications, if you want to find it, because there's a little bit mix of, the not doing and the doing in there. But I digress. Let me dive right in. Right now I have 7 points. I've made a note of what I want to tell you about how to take advantage of the in-between. But we'll see if there's more than 7 as we get into it. But also, let me just be clear, I have no roadmap for you. Okay. And I think that's why this is so uncomfortable for people, because there is no roadmap other than the roadmap that you gravitate towards, which is, I need to update my resume. I need to submit my resume and update and submit and submit and submit and submit, and network and network and network. And that's like the roadmap that most people use. And I think that you're missing out on a huge opportunity when you are in between jobs. It can be more than just the job search, right? I think that when we have this gap in between jobs, whether by force or by choice, it gives us an opportunity to step into who we're becoming now, right? Because for some reason you're in between things, and it's not just to suffer in the unknowing and the uncertainty. I think actually the space is about you becoming that next version of you being able to hold what's coming next. It might be about breaking some patterns. It might be about seeing the patterns that you've carried that you don't want to carry with you into the next chapter. So I think that's why I like to say it's an opportunity to take advantage of this space. I mean, hell, most people like want time off of work, right? Most people like want to have a couple months off or a year off. And you can't control when you land that next thing. Unless you're starting your own business and you're doing that, then even if you're doing that, you have no control over when you're going to get your clients or sell your products or whatever, right? So what that means is that, we have to look at what we can be in control of, within ourselves, within our choices. And that is where we start to feel more empowered, because I understand, like, when you get the declines, when you get the rejections, it can really be this emotional journey that you have to go through to get back on your feet every time. But if what you're doing in the in-between is taking advantage of focusing on you, of doing things that bring you joy, and doing things that are constructive outside of this destination goal that you have in terms of the next job, I think you are going to be so much better for it in the long run. You're going to be better for the folks that work with you and for you in the next job. And also you're going to be better for yourself. So the first thing I will say, and I think a lot of people do this naturally, the first tip about taking advantage of the in-between is to dive into your health and wellness. Now, some people gravitate towards this for a number of reasons, but now they have this time and capacity. Oh, I can go to the gym, and then that feels constructive, and you can kind of give yourself a pat on the back, and that's great. Like, yes, give yourself reasons to pat yourself on the back beyond applying to jobs. But I also say focusing on diving into health and wellness. And by the way, this is all a choice, right? Like, these are all, I'm offering choices. I'm not giving you a roadmap. Some people, your health and wellness routines, you may have always done a great job with that. And maybe this isn't something that you need to focus on even more. Maybe the opportunity is in a different area that we'll talk about. So take it all with a grain of salt. Take what works for you and leave the rest. That's why it's called the Unlock Lab. We're just experimenting, right? And that's the biggest thing I want to offer you, to experiment with what works for you in the in-between, what feels good, what nourishes your soul. And so diving in on health and wellness, that might look like going to the gym. That might look like going for walks. It could look like doing some healing work and some healing modalities, whether you experiment with like a Reiki practitioner or a somatic healer or whatever. Maybe you get an astrology reading, like whatever feels like it's going to support your health, your wellness, your mind, body, soul, right? That's what I'm talking about. Like, maybe you're behind on some doctor's visits. I'll be really honest with you right now. Like, this summer has been, I feel like I'm in the in-between, right? So I think that's also why I want to talk to you about this, because I'm also in it. And one of the things that I did was schedule some appointments that are overdue. So I have an eye appointment that I scheduled, and I also scheduled my colonoscopy because I should have gotten that done 2 years ago, and I have been procrastinating. And I'm like, look, I know that I know better. I know better. Do the damn thing. Like, there's a reason why you're supposed to get screened as a woman at 45. And I'm about to turn 47 in September. So I scheduled that because I'm like, well, look, I feel like I'm in this in between. Let me check these boxes so that when I have more solid ground, I'll know that like those things are done, and I can keep it moving with other important things, right? So, and look, nothing is more important than your health and wellness. So, maybe it's massages, maybe it's anything that can give and show your body some love, attention, and appreciation. Because if you if you're like the kind of person that puts that on the back burner, or it's on the bottom of the list when you are in between things, I think one of the main reasons why we are in between things is to do that work, because we don't give ourselves permission to do it otherwise. And like, the universe knows better. The universe is like, yep, I need you to have some space because I'm going to need you to address these things, which you haven't addressed in forever. So there's that. Number 2, again, you may not need this, but I'm offering it. It certainly is one of the things that's resonated with me. And I think that it's resonated with a lot of different clients I've had that have been in between. And that is to give yourself a change of scenery. And the reason why, there's a lot of reasons why a change of scenery can be supportive, but a change of scenery really helps you to think different. It gets you out of your routines and your processes and just kind of disrupts it all. And it's great to be disrupted because then you get to come back and be fresh and think differently. And I think, the change of scenery, it could be going to the, different coffee shops in your town and spending some time reading or whatever there. It could be going on a trip. It could be going to visit friends or family, right? Like the change of scenery can be as big or as small as you want it to be. It could be, going around the world. I don't know. But the change of scenery also helps you to be you. And I say that because what happens when we are, especially in new places, is we give ourselves permission to just be us, because who else can we be, right? We're not trying to impress. We're not trying to prove. We're not trying to get shit done. We're just trying to be in our joy, And so a change of scenery or traveling can give you that beautiful opportunity to do so. Okay. The third thing that I will suggest for you to add to your list of things to do in the in-between is to do activities that ground yourself. And actually, the two previous suggestions I had can also fall into this category. I want to keep it separate. And I want to keep it separate because grounding yourself is often important when you feel like you've been flung in the air, right? When you feel like life wasn't your choice, or when you feel like the future is uncertain, right? All of these things can jack up our nervous system and make us not feel grounded and safe and secure, literally in our root chakra, like where our safety resides. Okay. And if you're not familiar with chakras, Google it, change your life. But grounding activities, there's so many things that you can do. You can get outside in nature. You can go for walks, right? Focusing on your health and wellness, right? Working out, is a grounding activity. Actually, cooking is a grounding activity. Eating is grounding. Literally putting your feet, on the grass is grounding, right? There's the options are endless. And so part of it is also paying attention to yourself and your whispers and what your body is telling you that it needs to feel grounded, right? There's meditation practices and like guided meditations. There's various ways that you can find that safety within yourself. You can Google about like even vagus nerve, work. The options are endless. Journaling can help you ground. And I think grounding practices are good all the time, but especially when you're in between and feeling a little bit insecure. Okay, so what's next? So the fourth thing that I am going to highly recommend during the in-between is clearing and cleaning and organizing. Now, you may also gravitate to this because it gives you a sense of control. And that's not exactly why I'm recommending it. I'm recommending it because literally you get to clear and clean stagnant energy, and you get to organize and find some more, I think, structure that's supportive of you in feeling clear and feeling free. And one of the stories that I tell all the time is when I was getting my coaching certification, I cleared out old papers, old phone numbers, and interview notes. And I did that to ready myself for like this next phase of what I was doing, which was to get clients to coach as part of the program, but also just as part of, me stepping into this work in a more serious way. And I cleared out all these old papers and I literally put them in the trash. And literally within like 5 days, I had 5 clients. So like moving the energy around is real. And listen, while we're talking about this, I often like smudge my computer area. I clear it, right? In whatever clearing practice maybe you have, maybe you sing a song, maybe you do a dance, but just clearing and cleansing your space and even your own energy field can be really supportive in this time because it will help you to be more clear. It will help you to be having more positive thoughts, all those things. So can't emphasize this one enough. Okay, so tip number 5 is to try a new thing, start a new project, or learn something new. I'm kind of bucketing those all together. Sometimes we need to fill our cup when we're depleted, or when, right, we're feeling discouraged because we may be getting some rejections as we're looking for things. And right, we're looking for the next thing because we want to grow, right? We want to grow in some way, whether it's we want to grow our financial stability, we want to grow personally and professionally, whatever. And so if you take on learning something new, if you take on a project, if you pursue a passion project, this helps you to feel, right, accomplished. It helps you to feel like you've got forward momentum. And I think also it plants the seeds for doing something new that's going to happen with this next step of your career. And so you're kind of planting those seeds and giving yourself permission, I think, to do something poorly. Personally, I hate trying to learn new things because I hate being bad at things. And that has held me back for a long time of trying new things. And I don't think that's what's best for me, so I want to invite you. You might be cringing at like, I don't want to try something new. I hate new. Maybe that's your growing edge. If you're resisting it, maybe that's the way through, my friend. Just saying. Okay. All right. So gosh, we're all the way on number 6 already. Number 6, you may be doing this already, which is to meet up with your network, even the folks that you haven't talked to in a really, really long time. Now, you might be gravitating toward this because this is your, the way that you want to pursue finding the next opportunity. But I'm also suggesting it because, being connected with people may be just the thing that you need to stay positive and motivated. So this is really all about no strings attached. This isn't about finding the next thing. This isn't my suggestion for like, oh yes, how do you land that next job? No, this is separate from that. This is just activate your network. This is just like reach out because you have the space, and you may have some guilt around having not reached out and now you're reaching out. Get over it. Okay. Like this is my tough love because you know what? People will just love to hear from you. That's the truth. You know what? And if there's anybody that's being a little standoffish, fine. Like you don't need to talk to them, right? Move on to the next. But there's a whole lot of people in your life that would love to hear from you. And this is just about reconnecting and putting yourself out there. And I think also like sharing where you're at, because the more that we share where we're at, I think the more solace we have with where we're at. Because we've aired it out versus keeping it buried, in whatever, if there's shame or embarrassment, like for me, sometimes, like I'm in the in-between of like, where are things going now? Who am I becoming? All the things. And so sometimes when I tell people, look, yeah, like I don't freaking know what's next, at least that, like me admitting that out loud, like feels good because I'm just sitting in my truth and that's what it is. And, there's no reason to beat myself up for it. It's just what is, right? Okay. So I think you get my point about networking. We don't even have to use that word. We can say the word like meeting up with people, right? Right. Because I know networking can have this like, heaviness, negative connotation. So just like meet up with people, have coffee dates, make new friends, get out there. And again, for some of you, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you're a social butterfly and this is the time where you need to go inward and force yourself to like sit with yourself. I don't know, but I'm giving a lot of options. And again, you pick and choose what works for you. Okay. So number 7 is about getting to deeply understand your personal brand. And this work is very much connected to, right? Like, how are you going to tell your story, right? How are you going to be in the pursuit? But this is not with the energy of you need to update your resume and you need to update your personal brand. No, what I'm asking you to do in this expansive time that you have is to really look at your journey, to really look at who you are, to see the threads of your career and your journey as a human and all that you bring to people and that you bring to the table. Because when you can do that with this new lens of where you are, when you can start to look at what are those patterns, what are those things I do really well, I just want you to get to know yourself better, because when we're just sitting in front of a computer and looking at our resume, we're just telling the old stories. I don't want you to do that. What I want you to do is say, let me look at like these steps that I've taken in my life and what are the lessons that I've learned and what have I contributed and what am I most proud of, with with just that being the objective. Okay. Now, if you want to get to the next step of, how do I, then take this and use it in my storytelling? Look, call me, reach out. This is the work that I do with people. But, for this particular conversation with you, I just wanted to give you some ideas of what to do with the in-between. And getting to know yourself better is really at the core of all of this. And getting to know who you want to be in the next version of you is also part of this exploration. So, that's going to bring me to, I knew there's going to be more than 7. Number 8 is journaling. Okay. It's a little bit related to cleansing and clearing and organizing. It's like organizing your thoughts and cleansing and clearing your thoughts and your feelings, to really process what you're feeling, your emotions. How did you feel? Whatever comes up for you. Maybe it's, what you vision for yourself. Maybe it's just all the, frustration that you have pent up inside and it needs somewhere to go and somewhere to release. You can do that with journaling. Obviously, you could do that with therapists. You could do that with coaches. You could do that in a number of ways, but journaling, super cheap, practically no cost at all. And that, you know what? I'm just going to add one more on there. Brings me to number 9. Number 9 is invest in the support that you need. Invest in the support that you need. Now, that investment might be your own time, right? To get away. That investment might be support that you need. It might be a course. It might be counseling, coaching. It might be, helping you through the heaviness of what it feels like to be in between. And I've said this a lot, and I'll just say it now. You may be getting in your own way of giving yourself support because you have this fear mentality or the scarcity mentality, like you don't have the resources. But I think this is the number one biggest mistake that people make when they're in between. They don't give themselves the resources to get through this time with more ease and with more success. And by success, I mean in feeling good about the journey and not just being so focused on the destination. Okay? So, are you listening to me? Give yourself the support that you need. And that might be surrounding yourself with friends. That might be asking for folks to, check in on you. It could mean a myriad of things, but giving yourself permission to get that support, and to even identify what you need first and foremost is going to be game changing in the in-between. Right now, I am needing a lot of time going for walks in nature right now. Because I feel like I don't know what's next. I'm a little bit like, what should I be doing? And so I fight myself with it. I still fight myself with it. Going in the middle of the day and going for a long walk to clear my head. But I'm investing my time in that way because at the core of me, I know that's what I need. And I hope you do that too for yourself. I hope that this supported you in giving you some ideas about, how to make the most out of this time, how to, hopefully enjoy it, take advantage of it. And again, if you're looking for some more support on that, reach out on whatever platform you're watching or listening on. And I'd be happy to talk to you about what that could look like. Because I myself had experiences being in between and didn't give myself the support because I thought I was supposed to figure it all out on my own. And it was a disaster. It was almost a year of doing that. And I learned my lesson. It was like, oh, I didn't have to do it that way. Duh. So, here's the other thing I want you to know. I want you to know it's going to be okay. You're going to land on your feet. Think of all the times in your life that things took a left turn and you figured it out and you got to the next step. You will get to the next step. And I want you to keep remembering this is just a moment in time, right? This too shall pass. Like this is the valley. And you can walk through the valley and you can get to the other side. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not impossible. I know sometimes it feels impossible. Sometimes it feels heavy and you wonder like, how am I going to wake up tomorrow and do this all again? Well, you don't have to do it all again. You can change it up, right? But, I guarantee you that this is just going to be a blip of time in your life. And so I think if you take some of these ideas and start to experiment with them in your life, you will find this in between to be just a little bit more enjoyable. All right. So I'm cheering for you. I'm wishing the best for you. And listen, if you know somebody that can benefit from also hearing these ideas, please send them this episode. Let's spread the word. And, let's give ourselves a break from the harshness and from those inner voices that are telling us we need to do more, because that's just not true. Sometimes you need to do less. And on that note, I will say thanks for coming to the Unlock Lab, and ciao for now.